The age-long question since man took their first steps. Well, maybe not that long, but even so. There's a lot of discussion between drivers, learners, even driving instructors sometimes. What is a dual carriageway? I've tried to squeeze in as much useful information into this video as possible. By the end, and in this order, you are going to know the difference between a single carriageway, a dual carriageway, a motorway. You'll know some of the most common signs to be found on a dual carriageway. We're going to check what the national speed limit is, both on a dual carriageway and a single carriageway, and how it changes. Then what vehicles are not allowed on a motorway, finding how to safely enter and exit on a slip road dual carriageway. Let's start with a simple question: what is a carriageway? Well, a carriageway is a paved surface for wheeled vehicles to travel on. This means the surface has got to be solid and it's got to be made for wheeled vehicles. This could be a bike, this could have been a horse and carriage, this could be anything that has got round wheels. Now that was nice and easy, let's have a quick look at a single carriageway. Now I don't pretend to be a road expert, so I'm going to explain this real simple, the way I understand it, and after all, this isn't school time, I know you're just looking for answers. So a single carriageway will have the other side of the road for oncoming traffic only separated by road markings. This can be separated by a broken white line, a solid white line, maybe a few other types of lines. Now for a dual carriageway, you must have a solid separation between the left and the right side of the road. Basically something separating you from the oncoming traffic. But more of that to follow. Now you can get multi-lane single carriageways. A really good example of this, for any of you brummies out there, you will recognise this. This is the Aston Express A38 with an M in brackets, which means it's actually a motorway. Now this is interesting, this is very interesting, this one. This is a really extreme case. This is a tidal motorway. So it normally has 3 lanes going each way, but it has electronic signals on the road, and when it gets to rush hour, those signals will direct the traffic into 4 lanes one way and only 2 lanes the other. What is also interesting, this does not have a central reservation. So although this is a motorway, this is still a single carriageway, even though it still has 3 lanes going each way. It does not have any solid separation between the road. Now let's go to the opposite extreme and look at a dual carriageway, which has no real rights to be called a dual carriageway and looks completely ridiculous, but there you go. So to do this, we need to visit a stunning little village called Duel in Wales. I apologise if I pronounced that completely wrong. In fact, I know I have, but I can only do my best. Now to give you a bit of perspective, this place consists of around 3 houses, a couple of farms, and maybe a cow. It also has a road leading through and up the side of a mountain with a clear central reservation. Now to really solidify that this is a dual carriageway in every respect of the word, we've got to check 3 things. First, it has a blue keep left sign. Check. It has a sign that states dual carriageway in 2 languages. Check. It has a solid separation between the left side of the road and the right side of the road. Check. So there we have it. This is a dual carriageway with a national speed limit of 70 miles an hour, which would be completely impossible up the side of a mountain. Now if anyone's ever been here, I'd love to hear about it. Pop it in the comments below, tell me about your experience. Now we're going to look at the difference between a motorway and a dual carriageway. Now there are some solid differences and there are some more subtle differences as well. Let's start with the easy ones. Motorways only allow motorised vehicles, so that means no pedestrians and no cyclists. Motorways don't permit learner drivers unless they're with an ADI, unlike dual carriageways which do. Motorways don't permit tractors and any other slow-moving vehicle. While motorways have a hard shoulder, dual carriageways generally don't. Motorways also have a clear M in brackets designating that they are a motorway, with normally a road number as well, such as the M1, M2 or M6. If this road has an M in brackets after the name rather than no brackets, this means this road has actually been upgraded to motorway status. Here are some of the more subtle differences. Junctions on motorways are always numbered. They're not on dual carriageways. Motorway signs are always blue while they are green on dual carriageways, and on a motorway the right hand lane is only for overtaking, whereas you can use it for turning right on a dual carriageway. Exiting a motorway almost always involves a slip road. Roundabouts and traffic lights are extremely rare on a motorway, but very common on dual carriageways. Now here are some common dual carriageway signs that you're going to come across. But don't get me wrong, this is not exclusively only dual carriageway signs, and there are a hell of a lot more signs out there. If you're not sure of your signs, you need to check the highway code, but these are some very common ones just to help you along. So as you enter a dual carriageway, you'll likely spot this lovely blue circle here with a light arrow. This indicates stay left, this indicates stay left, as oncoming traffic will be coming down the right side of the road with something solid between, so you don't want to be there when it does. Now this glaring red sign with blue in the centre doesn't really fit my colour palette, but hey ho, it gets the job done. And it means no stopping at any time, which really makes sense as you don't want to be flying down the dual carriageway and then someone stops in the left lane to eat their sandwich. Now these trio always come together as a 3. They are countdown markers. They often indicate the distance to the start of the deacceleration lane if you were to come off. They're also often at roundabouts. They're just to give you a bit of a countdown marker at 100 yards each approximately of when you're going to need to slow down. If you spot this bad boy, it's because you are likely reaching the end of the dual carriageway and there will no longer be a central reservation, so don't go into the right lane as you will find some traffic coming straight at you. As I often explain to my students, when 2 cars meet, they do not make one big car. The sign here indicates that there are 2 slip roads that will be coming onto your dual carriageway. The left indicates that there is an extra lane. This could be for a short period or this could be to a further slip road down the road. Finally, if I'm allowed to have a favourite sign, this would be it. It's the national speed limit sign. Why is it my favourite? Well, I'm not too sure. Probably because I ask so many students what it means and they're not too sure, they get confused, so it gives me something to talk about. So finally, let's just touch on what we've just mentioned about the national speed limit. So what is the national speed limit? Well, this really depends if you're on a dual carriageway or a single carriageway. If it's national speed limit on a single carriageway, even with multiple lanes, this would be 60 miles per hour. However, if you're on a dual carriageway, this would be 70 miles per hour. Now bear in mind, you can get dual carriageways with just one lane on either side of the road. If it is a national speed limit, this would still be 70 miles per hour. Now, if you feel like I've missed a very important sign, or is this a sign you would specifically like to talk about, get it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just to finish this story off, we are going to look at how to enter a dual carriageway, how to drive safely on a dual carriageway, and how to leave a dual carriageway. Now, to enter on a dual carriageway, you're likely going to be joining on a slip road. Now, this lane's a strange concept for new learners because it's actually a lane designed to accelerate in, not to slow down in. Now, this lane's used to match the speed of vehicles on the dual carriageway and they can vary in length. So first of all, it's important that you're aware of the speed of the vehicles on the dual carriageway. If the dual carriageway is a 70 mile per hour road, you are going to need to join that dual carriageway at a reasonably high speed. Joining the dual carriageway too slowly could affect and cause other drivers to have to slow down, which would be dangerous. But you also need to be aware because there could be slow moving vehicles or stationary vehicles on the dual carriageway which may be stuck in congestion, so make sure you're aware of what speed the vehicles are doing before you just start putting your foot down. Make sure you check your mirrors, your blind spot and your signal before you join because you need to make sure that lane is clear. You don't want to cause other drivers to slow down or swerve. You have to adjust yourself in carefully. If it's busy, check that the other drivers have noticed you wanting to join and slowly move onto the dual carriageway from the slip road when it's safe. Other drivers will normally notice you wanting to join and they will react by giving you space or changing lanes if possible. Next, we'll have a quick look at how to drive on the dual carriageway. First of all, nice and simple, always stay in the left lane unless you are overtaking. And also get used to the speed that you're doing before trying to overtake. On the left, this is known as the hard shoulder. This is in case of emergency, perhaps you've got a flat tyre or the car breaks down. This is not a particularly safe place to be, so you definitely don't want to be hanging out here having your lunch. Now, whatever happens, do not hang out in the right lane. The right lane is for overtaking, so if you need to overtake because you're behind a slow-moving vehicle, then that is absolutely fine, but make sure you do use your MSM routine and get back into the left lane when it is clear and safe to do so. Finally, how to leave the dual carriageway. You'll need to exit the dual carriageway normally on a slip road, but sometimes there isn't a slip road. If there isn't a slip road, if you're turning left, it's just normal. You'd be in the left lane, mirror signal manoeuvre, as you normally would on any other road. Turning right is slightly different on a dual carriageway that hasn't got slip roads. We'll get into the right lane before you reach the end of the road, and then you would treat it as you normally would when turning right. The only difference is dual carriageways are generally a bit faster, so you've got to be aware of the other vehicles that are possibly moving faster than you are, and the roundabouts are generally going to be larger, which means cars can go slightly quicker around them. This isn't always the case, but it's just something to be aware of. Now, if there is a slip road, you need to look out for the countdown markers that we talked about earlier. Remember the trio? Now be prepared, don't rush to exit, make sure you pop a signal on to let the car behind you know that you're planning to leave onto the slip road, and finally don't slow down until you've actually got onto the slip road because you don't want to slow down traffic on the dual carriageway. The slip road is there designed to de-accelerate, to slow down, so don't start that until you get into it. Once you're into it, make sure you're looking ahead because the end of the slip road can vary massively. You could end up with a roundabout at the end of the slip road. You could end up with a giveaway sign, crossroads, which means you're going to need to get from possibly 70 miles an hour down to 0 in a reasonably quick time. Most important thing you can do, as I've already said, is look ahead down the road. Look out for those road signs. And that's it. Everything you need to know about dual carriageways. Well, maybe not everything, but hopefully you've got a better idea now. If you want to add anything else, get it in the comments below. I'll have nothing more than a bit of constructive feedback. Good luck in your driving, and I'll speak to you all soon.